Google just shipped another Gemini model in August of 2026, and this one isn't chasing the top of the leaderboard. It's called Gemini 3.7 Flash, and the whole pitch is right there in the name. Flash is Google's fast, low-cost tier, the model you reach for when you're answering a flood of requests and you care about speed and the bill as much as raw brilliance. It reads text, images, and audio. It trades a little peak reasoning power for much quicker, cheaper responses, and it's built to sit under the heavier Gemini Pro. Let's unpack what that actually buys you. Look, under the hood, the value of a Flash model comes down to 4 moving parts. Follow them one at a time because together they explain why teams keep reaching for this tier. This model takes more than plain text. Like the rest of the Gemini line, 3.7 Flash is multimodal, so you can hand it text, images, and audio in the same request and ask it to read, describe, or summarize what it finds. That single interface is a big part of why one fast model can cover so many different jobs. Here, the whole design bends toward latency. A Flash model is tuned to answer quickly, so it fits interactive chat, live assistance, and pipelines where a slow reply breaks the experience. You give up a slice of the deepest reasoning that a Pro model brings, but for most everyday requests the answer lands almost instantly. Because it runs lighter, Flash is priced well below the flagship tier. Google has generally positioned its Flash models as the cheap per token option, which matters enormously once you're processing millions of calls. Reportedly, the exact numbers shift with each release, but the pattern holds. Flash is the tier you pick when cost per request is the thing that scales. Think of the family as a ladder. Gemini Pro sits up top for the hardest reasoning, and Flash sits below it as the fast, affordable workhorse. Many production systems route the easy, high-volume traffic to Flash and only escalate the genuinely tricky cases to Pro, which keeps both quality and the budget under control. So why keep 2 tiers around instead of one great model? Here's the trade-off laid side by side. Gemini Pro is the heavyweight. It's built for the hardest problems, deep multi-step reasoning, tricky code, dense analysis, the work where being right matters more than being instant. That extra capability costs you, though. Pro is slower to respond and more expensive per token, so leaning on it for every trivial request quietly burns time and money you didn't need to spend. The Flash tier flips those priorities. It gives up a bit of that peak reasoning in exchange for much faster, much cheaper responses across the same text, image, and audio inputs. For high-volume, everyday work, classification, routing, chat, summarizing, that trade is usually a bargain, because the task never needed the flagship's full horsepower in the first place. Strip it down and 3 things make a Flash model like this worth reaching for. This model reads across modalities. Text, images, and audio all go through the same fast endpoint, so a single cheap call can transcribe a clip, describe a screenshot, or pull structure out of a document. You don't stitch 3 services together, which keeps both your code and your latency simple. Speed and price are the whole point. Flash is tuned to answer in a hurry and to cost a fraction of the flagship, which is exactly what interactive apps and huge batch jobs need. When you're serving real users at scale, shaving latency and cost off every request compounds into a very different bill. When you run at volume, Flash becomes the default. High-throughput routing, chat backends, summarization at scale, tagging and extraction over millions of items, this is the tier those workloads live on. You reserve the pricier Pro model for the small slice of requests that genuinely need deeper reasoning. Alright, let's lock in what matters. Google's newest fast tier, Gemini 3.7 Flash, launched in August 2026 as the speed and cost optimized member of the Gemini family, sitting below the heavier Pro model. This model handles text, images, and audio through one multimodal endpoint, so a single lightweight call can cover a surprisingly wide range of tasks. It trades a little raw reasoning power for much quicker, cheaper responses, which is exactly the deal you want for high-volume, everyday work. Nearly every large system pairs a flash tier for the easy traffic with Pro for the hard cases. Want more AI releases decoded without the hype? That's what we do over at standarity.com. Come join us.